What are your thoughts on Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 4?
I've been looking forward to this discussion right here. So I'll just start off with the context.
Do you want to just read it?
Yeah, I got it right here. Um, so this prefaces the story of Noah,
Hmm.
and it goes like this: When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years.
Mm.
The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans, and they had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown.
Hmm. Mine also says the famous warriors.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, I think a lot of people let their desire for like hidden knowledge and uncovering mystery cloud their judgment when it comes to this passage.
Uh-huh.
Like there's a lot of like uh Gnostic views, like of oh this is a hidden bit of knowledge here that like we can show you if you come to our side,
Uh-huh.
and like it basically goes back to the the non-canon book of Enoch, like
Hmm.
the apocryphal text, uh, which is basically a big elaborate story on where the sons of God are angels
Hmm.
in the story, and the angels are known as the Watchers,
Hmm.
and they're tasked with basically watching over the earth and handling human affairs, and they fell from God because of their
Hmm.
lust for human women
Hmm.
and made wives of them, and they rebelled against God to do
Hmm.
this, and they had children with them, which were the Nephilim
Hmm.
or giants, is basically what Nephilim is.
Hmm.
Other translations of the Bible doesn't say Nephilim; it says giants.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's a cool read and all. Like it, I've went
Yeah,
through
yeah.
it. It's cool to see with the historical context of it, but it's not considered a God inspired writing. Like
Okay.
it's it's definitely not the great grandfather of Noah writing. It's definitely not Enoch.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't fit in the correct time frame. It's probably multiple different authors. Uh,
Hmm.
but a lot of our arguments found for Enoch is like other portions of the Bible. Like they they reference how Daniel talks about watchers in chapter 4
Uh-huh.
of Daniel. He references it,
Yeah.
and some people say that Jesus even references Enoch in the
Yeah.
Beatitudes.
Hmm.
Uh, and there's a reference to Enoch in Jude, but a
Hmm.
lot of scholars say like Jude is being satirical making that reference. And the references, the things that people try to connect between the Beatitudes and Enoch are it's a straw man kind of deal.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's so general. It's like
Hmm.
if the book of Enoch said water is wet and Jesus said water is wet, they're like, what? Like
Yeah.
it's so vague and so thin that
Uh-huh.
it just it doesn't hold itself up. Um,
Hmm.
but I think the answer to like what it means is found in the verse itself.
Hmm.
Like I think how I would interpret the passage is that the sons of God are God fearing individuals on earth,
Hmm.
and the daughters of men are the sinful people of the world. And in having offspring, they began to drift further from God,
Hmm.
which is what got the world into the place to where it was that uh,
Uh-huh.
the flood had to happen. And the renowned sons and are like the wicked leaders of the time that
Okay.
were born from that generation.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So we differ in this opinion then, I guess.
all right,
So I believe, right, the sons of God, I forget what it is, but basically the Hebrew word for it could mean angel, right? And so I do not believe in the book of Enoch.
yeah,
I make that
I,
argument
I I
first.
do not either.
Right,
We're both clear in agreement on that.
right. But so the angels, they saw the beautiful woman, and so they came down to earth, and it says they had conceived of giants or Nephilim, depending on the translation, and they became the heroes of old, the famous men, the heroes of renown, right? And so I believe this ties into a lot of what most people would consider mythology,
Yeah.
in a sense of so making, I guess what could you say, fictional like stories, fictional movies. They're more new, as like most people in the past they didn't make up a lot of fiction.
Yeah.
And so what I believe is the angels, they had intercourse with the women who had gave birth to basically superhumans who now people write about. And that's the same reason, right? And then at the Tower of Babel, all uh, these stories, they just split into different languages. That's why no matter where you go in the world, they all have the exact same mythology stories.
Gotcha.
They're just in different languages. And they
Gotcha.
have different like tribal attributes to them.
Yeah, based off the
Right?
culture.
Like everyone has the flood story.
Yeah.
Everyone has the exact same flood story. But I think the Bible actually gives an answer to why, right? It's because they all were the same people,
Yeah.
but then the flood split them apart and then the Tower of Babel split them into different languages.
Yeah.
And so my argument is basically that angels, they came down to earth, they created basically superhumans, which that's just in the Bible in general. But they created these things that weren't supposed to be made.
Yeah.
God didn't make them, and that's one of the reasons. This is right before God floods the earth. That's one of the reasons I believe why God flooded the earth is because these are basically abominations.
Yeah.
These aren't what I meant to create.
Yeah.
And
Reset.
yeah, basically just doing a factory reset. Like there's a virus, we need to get rid of.
Yeah.
That's also what I believe demons are. Is basically the spirits of the Nephilim, because spirits cannot die.
Yeah.
That's like a Christian factual thing. Because the Bible also tells us that the angels are currently bound up in hell. And so, for my now, does that mean all of them are? I don't know. But what I'm trying to make is like, I believe the angels are bound up in hell. So, what are these demons coming around?
Yeah.
And I think that gives an answer. But the main thing I would preface is this isn't a salvational issue. I would say,
Yeah.
right? I can make this argument, you can make this
Yeah,
argument all
exactly.
day. It doesn't affect salvation
Yeah,
or anything
absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely. It's kind of like a lot of like Genesis. Like there's a lot of like different interpretations of Genesis.
Okay. Matthew's saying in Job 1:6, there's a mention to the sons of God as angels as well. So I just want to go over the question.
All right.
Job 1 verse 6. One day the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser Satan came with them. Other translations say the sons of God, which would be referring in this to angels.
Gotcha.
Right. So sons of God is a complicated thing because in different places it says mentions them as angels, and
Yeah.
other places it mentions them as like the believers,
Yeah.
and they use the same word in Hebrew.
Yeah.
So that is the complicated part of it,
Absolutely.
I would say. But again, that's not a salvational issue.
Yeah. I think also like with how vague it is in that passage, like it's just 4 verses dedicated to it.
Yeah,
Like if it was something that was meant to be like if it
Yeah,
was something
yeah.
that was important to us, it would be expanded
Yeah, yeah.
upon.
I think for me it kind of just answers a lot of questions of history,
Yeah.
and like why are all these people believing the exact same mythologies, like stuff like that. Although I do think like your argument could say the same thing because they would still make the heroes famous warriors of renown,
Yeah.
right?
Just
The-
less in the supernatural sense.
It's just it's just less supernatural. But I would say like why would a believing mind mixed with a non-believing mind make superhumans? I guess that
Well,
that
again, that's why I had said it was more of like it was less about superhumans and more about like uh they were renowned because they were wicked. They were renowned because they were
yeah.
kind of like how like the Egyptian leaders, they considered themselves God. Like
Yeah.
every pharaoh was like a god.
Yeah, different translations say different things in that.
Yeah,
Like mine says, like they became the heroes and famous warriors.
yeah,
Where yours says they were renowned,
yeah,
which they mean the same thing, but in a sense they don't.
yeah. Exactly. It's an issue of translation as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. But also, if you look, it says, where does it say it? Um, here it is. No, maybe it basic. I know it's somewhere here, where it says they existed on the earth for some time, and even sometime after, referring to the flood.
Yeah,
That they were on the earth sometime after, which I believe is referencing to like the Canaanites, like how if you read like the stories of David and his famous warriors, right? They came across all these giants like Goliath.
yeah,
They came across these 9, 10+ foot people. Some had like extra limbs, some had extra eyes,
yeah,
stuff like that. And so, what a lot of people argue is like they were doing the same thing in the time of Noah, where angels are coming down to them, and they were basically doing it to create superhumans for their side,
gotcha.
basically. Which, again, it's not salvation.
Yeah,
It's, if you come across a disagreement that isn't a salvational issue, right? You can. I'll preface this later, but it it's not a need to divide
yeah,
it.
exactly, exactly. I